What's up, everybody? Chris Hervishon here, CPA. Website is betterwaycpa.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about how accounting trends affect your business. So I spent the last week at AICPA ENGAGE. It is a conference out in Las Vegas, and basically what the AICPA has done is combine 6 or 7 different conferences and all into one. So there's a ton of different content to take in, a lot to learn, a lot of people to see. There's thousands of people there, but it's a really great experience, and I learned a lot while I was there, and I wanted to bring that back to you to talk about how the trends that are happening in accounting and will continue to happen will potentially impact your business. In fact, they will impact your business. They're going to impact my business. They're going to impact your business. They're going to impact the way that we work together. And so I wanted to talk to you about those things today. My top takeaways from AICPA ENGAGE. The global hard trend. So I took a few classes on technology, futuristic technologies that are affecting the world. That was one of the classes that I took. Awesome content, lot to take in, a lot to uncover. But here are my top takeaways. So datafication and big data. If you've watched any of my other YouTube videos, if you've read any of my posts on Quora, if you've read my blog posts, you know that I'm big on data. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is that there's going to be more of it, and it's going to be different data. So varying types of data that you're going to have access to in your business and just in your regular, normal everyday life, and a much larger quantity. I saw a stat out there a while ago that said, most of the data that exists in the world today has been created in the last however many years, but basically in recent history. That's not going to go away. Tons and tons of data we're going to have access to. It's going to be in your business. It's going to be in your personal life. And we need to use it because data is going to be your competitive advantage. It's one of your biggest assets that you have as far as helping you to make strategic decisions. AI. Now, AI encompasses a lot of things. If you followed me on Twitter during the conference, you saw that I put up a slide that talks about what AI is and what AI isn't and the different things that make up AI. One of the most interesting things from an accounting perspective is machine learning. So making predictions based on the data that we have. Datafication enables AI. Without a bunch of data, the AI becomes, not as useful. One of the presentations that I saw said that you need about 100 instances or 100 data points for AI to be useful. Generally, what you'll hear is 10,000 data points. What's right, what's wrong. I think it depends probably on the data set and the use case, but you need a lot of data. AI is going to enable robotic process automation. It's going to enable the robots. It's going to enable all sorts of things. If you think about your Netflix account and the recommendations that it makes on what you should watch, that's AI, right? It's an algorithm. 5G. 5G is the most interesting thing that I learned about, that I knew about, but I didn't really realize the impacts that it's going to have going forward. 5G is the next iteration of 4G. So if you look at your cell phone, you look at the top left-hand corner. If you've got an iPhone, I suppose it's the same on an Android device, but it'll say 4G, LTE, yada, yada, yada. 5G is the next iteration of that. It's going to be much faster. It's going to allow for lower latency, and it's going to allow a lot more devices to be connected to the internet. So when we think about the Internet of Things, 5G is really going to enable that. It's basically pouring fuel on that fire. The most interesting use case that the presenter showed for 5G was when you think about self-driving cars. He showed a video where you've got a self-driving car now, an obstruction comes into the roadway, the car decides to brake, and it doesn't quite brake in time, so it kind of nudges that obstruction. Well, with 5G, we've got much lower latency, and so that vehicle is able to stop in much faster time. So it did not hit that obstruction. So when we think about low latency, when we think about the number of devices that can be connected, when we think about the speed, it's going to allow more data a lot faster, more devices, which means more data. It's crazy stuff, but that's going to impact everybody for sure. Personalization. And this is an interesting one. I took a course on AI and marketing, and I know what you're thinking, but what is a marketing course, doing at an accounting conference, and you would be surprised. So the marketing and accounting conference is one of the conferences that's rolled into AICPA Engage. They've got a lot of great content. As you know, I like to provide services to marketing agencies. That's one of my niches that I have in my business. And so that's of interest to me. And one of the things that the presenter talked about was personalization and the need for personalization. So when we think about all this data, the things that I just talked about, all this data, all this AI, recommender systems, what we're going to end up with is more personalization, hyper-personalization. If you've seen the recent articles about Facebook, they've talked about us congregating more into communities. So Facebook is trying to push us into groups, into communities, people who like things that are like. And you can be a member of more than one community, obviously, but that's one of the directions that Facebook is going with our platform. When you think about websites and Amazon and Netflix and all of these things, they are becoming more and more personalized to the experience that we want to have and what we like. That's going to continue forward. So when I think about the marketing agencies that I serve, one of the things that I'm going to be bringing up to them is, how are you working on personalization for the content that you're delivering? That was one of the big messages that she delivered. So when you have a website, when a customer goes to visit a website, we've got data on that customer. When they visit that website, are they having a personalized pop-up that says, "Hey, Chris, thanks for visiting our site," or are they storing our likes and our preferences? If you're not going to have personalization, you're going to be falling behind. Whatever your business is, it's not just in marketing, it's in everything. You need to become hyper-personalized because we have that data, we have the ability to do it. We have AI, which can take some of the strain off of personalizing everything. We can do it in an automated way. And so we need to be thinking about how we're personalizing the services and the products that we offer. Another piece of that, actually, which I almost forgot, was in that Futuristic Technologies class that I took, he talked a lot about 3D printing on demand. So when we think about 3D printing and printing on demand, that allows for a greater personalization because you don't have an inventory. When you have an inventory, a broad inventory, things have to be standardized. And so if we're able to print on demand and create on demand, things don't need to be standardized. They can be personalized right then and there. Those are things that can happen. And so personalization is going to be huge, both from a tangible goods perspective and also from a service perspective. And then finally, 5 billion new connected individuals. So the same presenter showed a slide that said, right now we've got roughly 7 point something billion people in the world, excuse me. It's going to go to 8 billion people. Right now, roughly, we've got 3 billion people who are connected to the internet. That gap is going to close within 5 years. So what he is saying is that every individual on the face of the earth is going to be connected to the internet in some way over the next 5 years. Whether or not that's hyperbole, whether or not that's true or will become true, don't know. But I think the fact remains that the population is growing. That's another hard trend that I've identified. I haven't listed it here, but the population is growing. The population that is connected to the internet is going to grow exponentially. Part of that's going to be allowed by 5G. And that's going to broaden our marketplace. Every business is a global business now, or most of them are global businesses now. And when we think about the size of our marketplace, that's going to grow. The people that we can sell to, the number of people that we can sell to and collect data from and all of those things, that's going to grow. So there's a huge opportunity there. And as a business owner and me as an accounting professional, I need to be prepared to advise business owners on that, and I need to be prepared to take advantage of that in my own business as well. As far as CPA firm-specific issues, there's a slide down here at the bottom right, which talks about the issues that are specific to CPA firms. It's a picture that I took from one of the sessions that I went to. It's a little bit grainy because it was taken from a camera phone, but if you're watching this on YouTube or on a desktop and you can blow it up, you can take a look. But the overarching themes here are the same. And they break it out by sole practitioner, 2 to 5 professionals, 6 to 10 professionals, so on and so forth. I would fall in that 2 to 5 professional category because I just hired some help, which is great. Breaking news right there. The overarching issue, finding qualified staff. If you're a business owner, you know that that's a problem right now. The unemployment rate has been very, very low for a very, very long time. It's no different in the accounting space. And so I think we just need to be cognizant of that when we all deal with each other. Finding qualified staff is really, really hard. In the accounting space, the unemployment rate's at 1.something%. It's just super low. It might as well be 0. I did a video on that as well a while back. You can check that out on the YouTube channel as well. Keeping up with changes in complexity of tax law. we've got a new tax law as of the end of 2017. 2018 was the first year that we really dealt with that full scale and had a filing season around that. Tax law is going to continue to change. Current tax law is supposed to be up by 2025. What they do with that after that point, who knows? State and local tax law is always changing, so that's one thing to keep aware of. But the pace of change in tax law, it's going to become more complicated as we see these, carve-outs. They get added in all the time, right? They don't take them away; they just add them in. And so, tax law becomes more complex. It becomes a little bit more niched, if I could phrase it that way. And so the complexity goes up. That's not going to change. Changes in technology, I've talked about that a little bit already. And then, training of partners and owners and training of staff, and that goes back to the qualified workforce. But these are all issues that I'm experiencing in my firm. Other CPAs are experiencing in their firms. Every last one to a person is experiencing those, and I'm sure that you're experiencing these in your business. But as we work together, as accountants work with other business owners, we need to be cognizant of these issues so that we can best work together. The cloud. So you've heard me talk about the cloud almost ad nauseum. The cloud, I did a video on this about a month or so ago. I would encourage you to go back and look at that if you don't know what the cloud actually is. But web-hosted software applications are going to continue to proliferate. We're seeing more tax software packages that are in the cloud. We're seeing more business applications that are in the cloud, more connectivity between those applications. And if that connectivity does not exist natively, there are more and more applications that are coming online that can build those custom connectors for you. So when we talk about data connectivity, that has to start with the cloud. Connecting application 1 to application 2, leveraging that data. So if you've heard me talk about leveraged data, that's financial data plus non-financial data equals leveraged data to help you make strategic decisions in your business. Cloud software is becoming cheaper. It's becoming more widely used. It's certainly more varied. There's tons of applications out there. That trend is not going to go away. For one, it's more profitable for the application developers because now you're on a subscription basis. It's recurring revenue. You can't just go buy QuickBooks Desktop 2015, have it for 10 years, and call it a day. Well, you can, but that's not the point. The point is that Intuit wants to move you to QuickBooks Online, so they're getting that recurring subscription revenue. And every other software provider is the same. With that cost does come that data connectivity that I talked about. That's not going to go away. That's a really powerful thing in your business. Remember that data is a huge asset for your business. It's basically like pouring gasoline on that fire of growth, and it can help to unlock insights in your business that you would not have otherwise had, and that can help you grow your business. One of the big things I saw when I was walking around the exhibit hall was the number of business intelligence software packages which are coming online. I asked every progressive CPA that I know, and I'm getting to the point now, I've gone to this conference a few times. I know some folks who are progressive CPAs who are running their own firms, and I love to pick their brain. They're awesome. But I asked every one of them, what's interesting here that you haven't seen before? What is interesting to you? What are you thinking about? And a lot of them said, I'm noticing that there are a lot more business intelligence applications. So when we talk about that data connectivity, the next piece is then turning it into insight, turning it into predictive analytics, turning it into, pretty charts and graphs where we can digest that information faster. If you've heard me talk about dashboards before, that's part of this. That's part of that whole BI space. And so that's becoming more and more popular. CPAs are going to, I think, as part of this whole push to get into the trusted advisor and advisory type services, I think that they're going to get to the point where they're pushing more business intelligence and pushing more dashboard type services. And if you've seen my YouTube channel before, you know that I've done a number of videos on dashboards. I've written about them extensively. I think it is the way of the future for sure, as opposed to just numbers on a page. Being able to take all that data, unlock it, and turn it into leverage data, things that actually mean something. Finally, niching. John Elway was one of the keynotes at the conference, and one of the interesting things that he talked about was when he got into the car business as a car dealer in the early 90s, I think it was. What he did was he went and he found a CPA who had experience in the car business. Now, in my opinion, what is going to happen is as knowledge becomes more deeper, as the information that's out there becomes greater in quantity, as the pace of change continues to increase. Remember, the pace of change is never going to be slower than it is today. As all of these things happen to us, it's going to be harder and harder to be a generalist. So if you're running a business right now, if you're in the car business, if you're like me, I service marketing agencies. If you've got a lawn care business, if you've got a construction business, go and look for a CPA or an accountant who's got experience in those industries. Because the knowledge base that you need to know to specialize or to be a generalist is just so vast, it's really hard to do it well. Specializing is definitely the way to go. Niching is definitely the way to go. And that's the same thing for every business, right? Niches are in the riches. That's that old saying. Well, if you can specialize, you can charge higher fees because you are the expert in that area. And that's one of the main points I think John Elway highlighted was, look, when I got into the car business, the most valuable person or the most valuable thing that I did was hire that CPA who had experience in the car business. So I think that's a really important takeaway. I would expect to see a lot more accountants start to niche over the coming years, especially as we see this transition from older CPAs, the boomer CPAs who own these firms who are retiring. We've got new CPAs, new and younger CPAs taking over these firms, realizing that niching is as valuable as it is, and that younger generation is going to be overwhelmed with the amount of information, like I talked about a minute ago, that's out there, and it's just really hard to be an expert in everything, right? So some final thoughts. Global hard trends are not just going to affect the accounting profession, they are going to affect all businesses. So the things that I talked about here that apply to the accounting industry, they're going to apply to your business too, for sure. These are all the things that I'm going to be advising all of my clients on. And so they're important to know, and they're important to think about. How are these things going to impact you? Maybe not today, but definitely tomorrow. And what do you need to be doing in your business to take advantage of those things? And remember, strategy built on hard trends is lower risk than strategy built on soft trends. And it's much lower risk than strategy that's built on no trends at all. Okay, so taking advantage of hard trends is a low risk strategy for your business, and it will, in fact, increase growth in your business. AI driven by datafication and speed, so that's the 5G thing that we talked about, and improving algorithms will continue to drive automation, personalization, and strategy. So unlocking that leverage data, that's the strategy portion. Personalization, those are those recommender systems, that's the AI, that's the ability to customize things on the fly. 3D printing, all of those things. People are going to expect for things to be more customized. When we think about, communities on Facebook, and we're getting into our own echo chambers, and associating with like-minded people more and more because the technology has allowed that to happen. That's going to continue. Increasing quantity of knowledge, pace of change, personalization, regulation, and technology will ultimately lead to fewer generalists, because you can't know everything, and you should find an accountant with expertise in your area of need. Just like John Elway found the CPA who had experience in the car business, you should find a CPA who has experience in your area of focus for your business. So here are the resources for today. The YouTube link to this video will be here in the show notes. There's a couple articles. Global 5G IoT Market Report, that kind of speaks to the Internet of Things, the growth of connectivity that I talked about earlier. The YouTube video that I did about a month or so ago, what is cloud accounting and why is it awesome? If you're not familiar with the cloud, if you're not familiar with cloud accounting and how it can help your business, I think you should definitely check out that video. 2 AICPA blogs here that talk about the evolving technology in the accounting space and the pace of change, in fact, and how that is just not slowing down, and it won't. And then finally, a Quora article that I posted. How do you convince your company that business intelligence is worth investing in? That's unlocking that leverage data in a way that is easily digestible and that can benefit your business. There's some other great articles that are linked in there as well. So let's connect. Chris at BetterWayCPA.com, 843-608-0298. That's the phone number. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Quora, Instagram, and Pinterest. I'm on all of those, so please reach out. If you like this video, please like it. Click that little thumbs up button. Please share it, and also please subscribe to the channel. That helps me to grow my base, and it also tells me what you like, what content you like, and what content that I should be producing in the future. So I really appreciate it, and until next time, I will see you later.